Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jamie Widener with JOTT-NYX Paranormal, and welcome to our introductory episode of Paranormal Lens, our brand new podcast, a reinvention of our former Coffee Talk podcast. And things may look a little similar because we have David Deramiti with us still, but also we have Chad Thomas, who has always been with us, but in the background. So we drug him out from behind the camera, put him in front of it, and there's no looking back. So here we are. Good evening, guys.
Good evening. It's nice to see the front of Chad's face. On all of his other pictures during Coffee Talk, it was the back of his head in the ball cap.
Yep. He has a face. Who knew?
Yep, I'm here.
So. Here we all are, right? So what we're trying to do tonight is, for this first episode, is kind of give you guys an introduction of us, who we are, why we're here, what we're up to, and what to expect as we go forward on the podcast through the next till next forever. So who knows how long. We have a lot of topics to cover. Some are set, some are as far as ideas, but we're always going to have content each week for you, something new, something hopefully fun and engaging, and something maybe you don't know. Which is, we're all learning something through this process. Each episode, one of us will be a subject matter expert, meaning that we're going to be the host, whoever the person bringing the information is about that topic. And the other two of us are going to be objective listeners, and we'll discuss what we learned, share what we're going to be doing as a team, where we are with Booby's Brewery, our home base, but also where we're going to be out in the world through the spring and summer and fall, things we have scheduled so far. So hopefully some fun, and maybe we'll see you out there. So I think I'll start this off with just explaining with JOTT-NYX Paranormal, who we all are as a team. And JOTT-NYX stands for just one of those things, and Nyx is the Greek goddess of night. So it's one of those things of the night. It's kind of one of the catchphrases or coined phrases that Jerry Keller, one of our founders, he and his wife Melissa, the founders of the team, kept saying every time something was unexplainable. Like, it's just one of those things in the night, and it stuck. And there we are with the team name. And the team has been together overall 12, 15 years. As a full team that we are now, probably the last 5 or 6. Jerry and Melissa were out on their own and all over the East Coast and somewhat into the Midwest. The traditional paranormal places and experiences, the penitentiaries and the hauntings and so forth. Lots and lots of stuff. We'll have them on later and lots of stories from all the places they've been. For each of us, though, we have a personal journey how we got here. Obviously, we like to stay up late and get into strange spaces. For me, personally, I grew up in a small town of Columbia, PA, and in the historical district in the downtown core, in a house that was built in the very early 1900s. And it was a colonial style home, not a colonial era home, but a colonial style, which had 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, something like that. Very large brick mansion-y style home that we bought in the early 70s, renovated it from still having a hearth in the kitchen, of all things, believe it or not an actual stove or range, putting it into a more modernized home. And that seemed to set off a lot of weird things happening. Traditionally, we're all used to seeing that, or hearing that in stories that, everything was fine until we started to redo stuff. And it led to, doors rattling. It led to a very select set of stairs creaking, which was a stair pattern going up. There was the 8th step and then the 12th step, and then it turned, and then the step again, and then a mini landing. And, so and trust me, as a teenager in this house, I knew exactly where not to step when coming home late or too late from where I'm supposed to be. But being upstairs in your room, knowing everyone else is in bed, and then hearing those same steps creak in that same pattern, was a very off-putting. Things would move, so very unexplained things for me. And, peaked an interest at an early age. And it led to, of course, here we are now with a lot of life experience later. And, we all watch a lot of shows, right? So we all started with Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and things like that. It led to an opportunity for me to be more aware. And, with knowing Jim Jerry and I went to elementary school together, so that's how old we are. But with that, and knowing Melissa from our high school years, and they've been together since high school, or before graduation in high school. So very long time now. We've all been friends through those years. So they had a public investigation in York, PA, a couple years ago, and I took the opportunity to join them, and led to an opportunity to join the team. And a couple years later, now 4 or 5 years later, whatever it is, going strong, going out to regular investigations as a team. We've added a lot of folks along the way, and we've lost a few, of course, too. With just general attrition and changes. But we've got a good core team of about 9-10 of us now. And we have a home base at Booby's Brewery in Mount Joy, PA, where we do basically every other weekend with public investigations. We'll get to that information. I'll do that with us later. But it led to a regular thing. And before that, we did the Haldeman Mansion in Bainbridge, PA, as a fundraiser for their Historical Preservation Society, which is a really cool old house that was way old, as far as one of the first homes built in the Susquehanna, lower Susquehanna area here in Pennsylvania, and just really cool place. And glad we got to investigate it on a regular basis there too. So I probably should stop talking and let everybody else go, but that's a quick and skinny version of how I got here. Obviously looking forward to more fun things to do with all you guys along the way. So Dave, why don't you go?
Okay, so I was lucky enough to become a team member back in April or May of 2021. But I've been a fan of the paranormal and interested in the paranormal for my entire life. I grew up in the coal region in a small town just east of Sunbury called Coltmont, Pennsylvania. I think it's east of Sunbury. And excuse me. And I believe that the house that I lived in was haunted. My dad will tell you that it's not, but I've had some incredibly strange experiences there, and as have other members of my family. For example, my mom, before she passed, used to say that she was able to talk with her sisters and brother, that had preceded her in death in our basement. And I've always been just unnaturally terrified of the basement and the attic of that house for many, many years, to the point where one night, in between deployments between Iraq and Afghanistan, I was home visiting my father, and I had an experience that terrified me as just as a grown man, and a combat veteran. You end up hanging outside of your bedroom door and wondering if you should open it or not, because you don't know what you're going to see. I've been all around the country. I'm retired from the Army. I have had the luxury of being all over the country to do stuff like this. And my ex-fiance and I as well, we used to travel all over the Eastern Seaboard to places like the Shanley Hotel in New York, to Salem, Massachusetts, to the Emerson by the Sea up in Rockport, Massachusetts. We've been all over the place. And I've been out west to the Winchester Mansion, to the Stanley Hotel, which is where the Stephen King stayed, where he had the inspiration for The Shining. Colorado Springs, Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, California, just all over the place. And then little did I know, I had a major life change at the end of 2020 and in the beginning of 2021, as I was trying to fill a hole with something to do. I just opened up Facebook one day. It was out of nowhere. I was getting job offers on Facebook, and a job for a paranormal investigator popped up, and it just happened to be with JOTT-NYX. So I applied. I interviewed with a young lady that interviewed with me. She's no longer with the team, but she was a big member of the team for the first little over a year that I was a member. And we met Jerry and Missy, and things just went from there. And next thing you know, we're traveling to the Hinsdale House, which was our first offsite with the group, and then to St. Albans Sanitarium down in Radford, Virginia, the West Virginia State Penitentiary. And we become a part of this group, and it's become so ingrained in my life that my living room, as I look around now, you can see some of the pictures behind me. This one, for example, as everything's transposed. This one, for example, came from the Hinsdale House. Those are the woods surrounding the Hinsdale House, where we were chased by a raccoon. And that was our very first offsite outside of movies. It was amazing to me that I had traveled all over the country and actually put all this effort in to finding these haunted places and going and investigating. And the next thing you know, less than 15 minutes from my house is this group and is this brewery that I had no idea about. And like I said, for the last almost 2 years, it's become a huge part of my life. And that pretty much sums it up for me. I live in a house that was built in the 1790s, has some stuff going on here. You'll see, if you follow me on Facebook or anything like that, you'll see videos from home where I have cat balls going off and other things going on. I'm renovating some of the upstairs, and I found a old spirit board in the floor. That went away real quick. Some of my trophies as a younger investigator, when I was kind of guerrilla investigating and, going to places in the dark of night, I had, I brought back some souvenirs, which is a terrible idea. And they no longer live in the house. They live in my garage, because when I have them in the house, really strange things happen. So, but yeah, that's it for me. I've got a bunch of cats that I take care of. And if you see me looking to the left and right, that's what I've been looking at. I have a couple of cats wandering around here, and I'm waiting for one to jump up. And I'll switch it over to Chad now, so I can stop talking.
All right. So my history is a little bit like Jamie's. I grew up in an old house. Mine was an old farmhouse, though, built in about 1868, we think. It's hard to tell. The property was divided several times over the years, so it's hard to tell when the house was actually built. But it was the late 1800s. And it was definitely haunted. Same experience with the steps. Every night at the same time, you could hear something walk up the steps, down the hall, around the corner, and into the bedroom that my brother and I shared. And as a kid, that's pretty daunting, because you don't know what it is and what's going on. And I think over the years, I actually blocked out a lot of the paranormal that was happening around me because of that experience as a child. I was like, I didn't want to experience it. But so as I grew older, I'm now regretting learning how to block it out, because I'm trying to open it back up. But some of my other experiences is I worked at the Fulton Opera House for several years, and have had two pretty interesting experiences there. They have what's called a paint bridge across the back of the stage, and it's suspended on the two ends, but the middle is it's not tied into anything other than two ends. So if you jump on it, you can actually bounce this bridge up and down a little bit. Well, I was in the theater by myself one day and standing there working on some lights, and something jumped on the bridge with me and bounced it up and down. And I was like, oh, well, this is happening. And another experience where something seemed to fly from the middle of the auditorium up to, like, how you get that feeling when something's approaching you. Something came up to me, and it was like, it sort of opened my eyes up again to things in the paranormal. So that was several years ago. Several years went by, and I started talking to Jamie and found out that he was part of a paranormal team. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And for my birthday last year, no, 2 years, well, my 50th birthday, Jamie said, hey, why don't you come to an investigation? It'll be my treat for your birthday. And I came along and had a really good time. I brought my camera, took some pictures, and then I kept coming back, and I kept coming back. And the team was like, well, you're coming enough. Why don't you just join the team and be our photographer? So I was invited to be the team photographer, and have really, really enjoyed my experiences. I've been to St. Albans with David. We had some interesting experiences there. The three of us shared the West Virginia State Penitentiary trip.
Yeah. Yes.
And then David and I did, I think my favorite one so far has been a trip that we did to the private investigation up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
That was a pretty interesting one. And I'm really looking forward to our next investigation, which is the Clifton Theater. I know, Jamie, you're looking forward to that one too.
Oh, yeah. I was looking forward to it, but I am unable to go now.
Right.
Well,
So what are, Jamie, what's been your favorite experience so far with the team?
Ooh, there's a lot of things, right? So how do you sum that down? But I think one of the most unexplainable things, which makes it the most interesting, perhaps, is we were at the Haldeman Mansion one evening, and we happened to have Daryl Marston and Mustafa Galatari from Ghost Hunters with us for a special event, and another team from Virginia with us as well. And after everyone had left, we were kind of in the upstairs bedroom, the Ani's room, which is one of the young daughters of the family, the Haldeman, the original family, right off the master bedroom. And there was a blue light in the home, like in the house, and we were trying to figure out what it was. And I thought it was someone with a colored flashlight, coming across the front of the house through that, toward that bedroom and then toward us. And then it just kind of dissipated, but I kept expecting someone to appear, a person. And then as we kind of waited a while, and then I went to check. There was absolutely nobody upstairs, but the people I was with in the other bedroom. And that was seen, and then it was seen again. And then Mustafa actually he saw it, and he was trying to chase it through the roundabout that the upstairs is, from the hall landing of the stairs through the bedrooms. And never quite caught up to it. And then very uniquely, we got a chance to see a part of the home we don't usually get to go to because of our experience that night. And it was emanating from the fireplace in the chimney itself at one point. It was visible on the first floor. So many folks saw it. Everybody who was there, who were all experienced paranormal investigators, all saw it, but couldn't figure out what it was. And that, that's something I'll never forget. And it's a really cool experience because, you don't get to see, we joke about this all the time, right? We're not even a joke. It's a comment that I make all the time in our introductions of our team to our guests is that 99% of this is walking around in the dark talking to yourself. You don't always get to see something in the moment. You don't always get to hear it in the moment. That's why we have audio and video, and, we try to do the capture and the review later. But very rarely does something happen in that moment where you get to experience it real time firsthand. And that was definitely that night and several times that night. It was super cool. And then there was a time Dave and I went to the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
So that's another one. A weird experience. I think for me there, we were, and it was our JOTT-NYX New Jersey team. We have a sister team in New Jersey. It's Tim and Erica Bergen, and they've added some members now. We'll get to them as a separate episode. But Tim and Erica and I were in the library, and Dave, being the intrepid investigator that he is, and with his bravery, was down in the basement by himself in the dark. And what was really funny is that what we were doing, he could hear us, and what he was doing, we could hear him. So we were actually kind of talking to each other through the floor. But he came back up, and we had a device called a tripwire that Tim had. And now Chad has one as well, but it's a string of REM pods. We had it in a circle in the middle of the floor, and we were basically around it on the edges of the room in rather comfortable chairs, actually. It was really nice. And the call and response there was active to the side of the room that the question was coming from. And that was really cool. We have some video of that. We'll get to that in a later episode. But it was fascinating because, usually, again, things you might get a K2 going off, you might get a REM pod hit, but this was visibly going toward the person asking the questions, and not just the whole device hitting all at once. And then we had K2s corresponding to it at the same time. So it was quite fascinating.
Maybe the chairs were a little too comfortable for some of us.
For Eric, at least, yeah. Some snoring on the other side of the room. Sorry, Erica. It's true.
And we actually have 3 teams. You said we have 2 teams. Yeah. We actually have 3 teams now.
Yeah,
yes, it's true.
Who's that other team, David?
It would be JOTT-NYX Extreme, and I'm not good with everybody's name on the team. I know Chris is the leader, but I apologize. I'm blanking on Chris's last name.
Cool. Yeah, Jamie, you're talking about the 2 devices going on. It's always nice to get that confirmation that you've got 2 things happening at one time. We don't get that a lot either. So,
absolutely, and that's like this past week. We had a poltergeist activity with 2 cat balls on a table coming off the table in 2 separate directions.
Well, the cat ball, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the cat ball stuff, the guest and I ended up bouncing around on the floor and got the cat balls to do the same thing from the unstable table. So like, I think that may have been Jerry's brother when he walked by. George, is that George, right?
Yep.
Okay. George, when he walked by, but the other two instances with the cat ball and with the with my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened with your phone, Dave?
I didn't mean to cut you. I didn't mean to cut Jamie off.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I forgot to tell you that you were busy with some other guests and we were bouncing around the table and got them to do the exact same thing. But my phone, it was, Jamie, you were standing right on my shoulder when it happened.
Yeah, I was to your left. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were engaged with a couple of the customers or a couple of the guests, and I was talking about our experience with our group's experience when we met the exorcist for the Diocese of Harrisburg. The Diocese of Harrisburg actually keeps an exorcist on staff. They never really admitted it until a couple of years ago, and now he goes around and speaks about the presence of evil in the world. The experience was, for lack of a better term, kind of a confrontational one in the one-on-one session with us. But I was speaking about him and what he believes and what he says that, what we're dealing with when you're dealing with paranormal is really just falls in one of two categories, which is either lost souls or demons. And he cautioned that it's not ever the person that you think you're talking to. It's just something trying to get you to let it in, or something to look to make contact. And it's a dangerous game that we play, he says. But as I was speaking about that, I had my cell phone on the table next to me, leaned up against a box. So like it was sitting leaned back against a box. And as I was talking about The Exorcist and specifically about the demon in the lost soul portion, my phone went flipping off the table. It didn't hit the table and bounce off. It just hit the floor without touching anything else. And Jamie looked at me and Jamie's like, "What was that?" And of course my response was, "What the was that?" And I looked down at my cell phone's laying on the floor, and you couldn't explain it. And of course it freaked, but of course nobody was recording anything because there was no reason to be recording at that moment.
That is always the case when there's something, it happens away from the camera or out of pan of the view, or just like order.
It's just like trying to get a clear picture of a cryptid. You're never out there trying to take a picture of a cryptid. You're taking a picture of the wife and kids on the beach, and then next thing you know, something with the head of a horse and the body of a snake is, rising 18 feet out of the water behind them.
Yeah. Are you alluding to our first episode that's going to air tomorrow night?
Well, I do mention that in the Ogo Pogo episode, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, David, what's your favorite experience with JOTT-NYX so far?
My favorite experience was down in St. Albans. Like as a team, down in St. Albans when you were in the group, Chad, correct? When we went down into the morgue and then down into the hydrotherapy chambers and the nurses station. And I got in, of course, I've had team members say I'm the brave one. I think it's just a genuine disregard for my own well-being and not bravery. There's a thin line between stupid and brave. And I was down there. We went down. We had a good interaction in the morgue. it was myself and you, and Andrew and Monica.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, and wasn't Dale with us as well, correct?
Dale was with us, yeah.
Yeah. And Dale is also is a former member of the team. And we went down, we had a good interaction. Yeah, Dale was with us because of the clown that was hanging out of the out of the door in the morgue. St. Albans Sanitarium is also used as a Halloween haunt, as many of these places are. And so they had props set up here and there that, or stored here and there that, and in this case, it was a clown, like a big stuffed clown, like hanging out of a doorway, looking at you as you're sitting in the morgue. And then from the morgue, we went downstairs because Monica got touched in the morgue, if I remember correctly, right? And then we went down into the nurses' station in the hydrotherapy area. And of course, there's a tub in like the hydrotherapy areas are tiny rooms with tubs in the middle where, depending upon the story, or like if you watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you know what happens in those tubs in old psychiatric hospitals. But there was a tub in the middle of this small room that was still 100% intact. So I jumped into the tub and announced at that moment that that's where I was going to be investigating from. And the rest of the group was outside. And as I jumped into the tub, I believe the flashlight or the cat ball went off because they were sitting in the corners of the room. And I got there, and the investigation of the area began, and I could feel as I'm laying in the tub. Number one, it was cold. It was April of last year. It was this week of last year. Actually, it was the first week of April of last year, because it was cold. It was like 30 degrees and snowing, and the place has smashed windows, and the wind's blowing through. It was miserable, and like you're in a hoodie and in a parka, and you're trying to stay warm. And I'm laying in this tub, and I could feel a defined, like, if you ever laid on a bed on a hot summer day and turned the AC, like a window unit AC on, and had it blowing over you, that's what it felt like. It felt like I could feel that it was cooler above me. And as you guys were out in the nurses area, doing the investigation portion, with the SLS and recording and trying to get reaction and trying to get responses with the Phasma box, etc. I was laying in there, and I could hear you guys getting excited, and I didn't know why. I just kept asking, and again, this is something we'll get to in a future episode. But you'll hear me asking, "Is anybody recording this? Is anybody recording this?" And I had to be reassured constantly that you all were getting this on tape or on being recorded. And the next thing you know, like, I get out of the tub, and like, "You got to see this, you got to see this." And they brought me the recording, and I looked at the SLS, and you could see that there's nothing standing behind me at the head of the tub. But on the SLS, you saw a stick figure standing there with its hands on my head. And at one point, I believe Andrew asked it, or maybe you asked, if he was trying to, or whoever it was trying to wash my hair, and the word bald came through, the Phasma box. So like that whole experience, that whole night, I had a fantastic time. Unfortunately, I brought something home with me. I feel like something got attached to me there. I was out of line, and I was kind of I was getting tired, and I was borderline disrespectful to, I believe, one of the spirits, and I believe she ended up making me pay for it. And because I had a terrible, terrible car accident on the way home, and it started out a long streak of a terrible streak for me for about 5 months. But that, the St. Albans experience, to include the Econo Lodge, my favorite. I thought I was going to get murdered in my hotel.
Yeah, St. Albans was definitely an interesting one. I enjoyed it. I had recordings disappear. I remember that, and like my voice recorder, everything we had done in the morgue, it was definitely flashing. We were recording. I was watching the time go by, and I went to pull them up, and everything was gone. So that was interesting. And as I was driving home, I really felt like I needed to ground myself. So I ended up driving through a wooded area and getting out and walking, just because I felt like just the heaviness of that place came with me a little bit. I don't know, not to your extent, but it was definitely an interesting experience. So,
well, I've accidentally brought home things from other places, like boobies. I feel I brought. Why can't I think of her name?
Sally.
I was going to say Samantha. I feel like I brought Sally home the one day, and I told you all about this. Like with a cat that got hit in the road, and I was burying it, and I came back inside, and I just had a lot of weird stuff happen right then and there, to the point that it freaked me out enough that I drove back to the brewery and walked back inside. I'm like, "Look, you got to stay. You can't be at home with me. I don't need this."
Yep. Separation is a very important thing at every investigation. So,
absolutely. What was your favorite? Chad?
Actually, I really think that the place in Liverpool, I think, was my most interesting. I'm really working on developing some of my sensitivities to like feeling and things like that. And there was a lot of emotion and energy there that I was picking up on. Like that tree out front, that big tree. I'm going to call it a witness tree, because I really think it has seen a lot over the years. And going up and just touching that tree, I got this overwhelming feeling of sorrow. Like something had happened there that was really, really just so sorrowful. And I don't know how to explain it, but it was just this overwhelming feeling. But there were just a lot of, throughout the night, just a lot of little things at that place that were interesting. And I would have loved the opportunity to go back again and do some more investigation, but I know it's not one we're going to be able to get to anytime soon. So
yeah, unfortunately, the gentleman who set it up gave me an update on it. No, Hannah, the client, actually gave me the update on it, and she said that it's no longer available due to multiple reasons.
So we'll find another one that I'll like, probably the theater. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to the theater next week.
I'm really disappointed I'm not going to get to go.
Yeah. So, and that's going to be another, that's actually going to be 2 episodes for us. We're going to do a little bit of history before we go. And then we're hoping that we get some good evidence, and we can do a evidence presentation to the paranormal people who are there. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, there is a resident group there. It's called Clifton Paranormal. If you, I want to give them a shout out. I talked to them. They were fantastic folks. And if you want to check out the Clifton Theater, it's in Huntington, Pennsylvania. All you got to do is look up the Haunted Clifton Theater on Facebook, and you'll get, Clifton Paranormal.
Very good.
Right, I think that's us, right? At least a snippet of who we are and why we're doing this. We've got. We'll leave you, I think, with some stuff about where we're at and what's going on over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Chad, you want to advance some slides? And
sure thing. Here's what our upcoming events. Like I said, we're going to the Clifton on the 15th of April. The 22nd of April, we have another public investigation at Boobies. Tickets are available for that. That you see the website below, or you can just go to Boobies Brewery. There's links on their website and our Facebook page. The April 29th, David, you're going to Burlington, or are any of us going to Burlington? No, okay. So the team's going to Burlington. Unfortunately, the 3 of us can't make it. May 6th, we have another public investigation at Boobies. Let's see. Then we've got some Paranormal Lens upcoming topics. The first one that's going to go live tomorrow night is Ogopogo. Dave is our subject matter expert on that one. After that, we're going to go to the Clifton Theater, a little bit of background history and maybe some of the stories. Then Jamie's going to run with orbs and what are they? And then we will, probably Jamie and I will run with the investigation review on the Clifton.
Yeah.
So that's what we got going on. And then let's see, do a shout out to our team is also doing another, I guess we're calling it a limited run series called Ghostly Truths. They're doing some bars and hotels of the area, giving it going in, getting some background about it, doing an investigation, sort of a mini version of some of the TV shows. So that's coming up. They did their first episode. Jamie, do you know where they were?
Yeah, the Bainbridge Inn in Bainbridge, PA. It's a very, very old property right on the rail line, which is now a Norfolk Southern line, but it used to be the major river artery going north from Baltimore and the harbor area, the mouth of the Susquehanna and the Chesapeake, all the way up through the state into New York. So it was a great stopping point for many folks on that traveling on that line, and a lot of the industrial stuff that was happening in this region back in the day. So it's got a lot of history and quite a lot of stories, of course, therefore. And yeah, the guys did a really good job of putting together some information with the staff at the place, some of the patrons, and then a lot of the video that we're going to get is them, of course, then in the investigation that they did behind it after it. So pretty cool. I'm really excited to see this.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be, they're going to do at least 6 episodes is what they're talking about right now. So we'll see how that goes. Always looking for places to investigate. So Tammy,
we have one of the comments.
Yep. So thank you.
We want to say hi to John. John said hello a minute ago. John Covey.
Yep.
Hey, John.
Yeah, John, actually, I just finished taking a class with John. He's I'm working with him on some of my skills. So shout out to John. He's a really good guy. And then let's see, our last thing that we're going to shout out is our different social medias. We're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Yep. Maybe a few more places soon. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, guess who downloaded TikTok today?
Amy?
I was convinced to download it. I digress.
Does it start with a and end with a vid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I broke down.
So,
well, hey, speaking of TikTok, Booby's Brewery's TikTok has been lighting up with some ghosts lately. So
yes,
give them a like. And our own David Daramedia is star of one of the last ones, not the last one they did, and also Courtney from the team. It's a blink and you'll miss it appearance from Courtney, but you'll definitely hear her crashing into things as the ghost in the background. So
definitely check out Boobies. They have a new social media manager, extremely engaged and works well with everybody.
Yeah, having a lot of fun with what they're doing too. So as usual with all their stuff, but
and Boobies is a great place to go. Grab a drink, get a meal, join us for an investigation. They do some things. They've got their dinner theater. Always
murder
great.
Mystery.
What's that?
The murder mystery.
Yep.
Murder mystery dinners. Yep. All the feasts in the catacombs as well are still happening, and the beer garden's coming soon.
The famous Halloween party too, like around Halloween, their costume party is famous in the area as well.
Yeah, halfway to Halloween, I think it's coming up at the end of the month as well. So
it is
very active. Everything they do is on their page, of course. So very active place, but a lot of fun to hang out as well, as we've been known to do sometimes. Perhaps planning for these episodes. So you never know, you might find us there not investigating. We're investigating some beverages.
Yes, we are. So, well, I definitely want to say thank you to everybody who's watching the live stream tonight, and to anybody who watches in the future. Keep an eye out for our episodes. Like, I don't know if we covered what our plan is. We're going to do 3 short, 1 minute intros to an episode over the week before the episode, and then we'll do about a 45-minute episode on a paranormal topic, event, place, things like that.
Right. Grow with us because we experience growing pains with this format all the time. For example, our first 3 reels that I did were 1.5 minutes long, and we didn't realize that Facebook capped it at Facebook capped it at 1 minute. So we had to release them on our page instead of as reels.
Right. So, I think we say this. The first episode ready to watch tomorrow night on Ogopogo, and Dave, I'm going to say it in advance. You did a fantastic job with this. I'm really excited to have everybody see it and comment and give us the feedback that we need. Because that's obviously something too. I mean, there's been a lot of commentary here in the chat tonight, but feel free to jump in with these as we go, because we're here to answer the questions. But the information is really neat. But we say it, like it's our first time. Give us a chance. We're learning as we go, and we promise we'll get better. Okay. So with that, I think it's time to say goodnight, and we'll see you tomorrow around 9:30.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.